project manager for Upena, which is Hawaii's shared services, first shared services project for licensed family childcare homes and care providers. So just a little bit about the project. It's meant to be a 1 to 2 year pilot project provided by funding from some private donors. We learned in the pandemic how difficult it was for family childcare, and we knew for a long time how difficult this industry is, and wanted to make sure that we were providing real tangible supports for those who were running family childcare homes. And so this pilot is for 20 licensed family childcare homes. What they get is they get a chance to be a part of this community, which meets on the last Thursday of every month, and you're welcome to join us. But we troubleshoot issues, we share our challenges, and we help each other out with some advice and support and guidance. And then we also learn the Alliance core system, which is provided by Early Learning Ventures out in Denver, Colorado. And the system is meant to support family childcare providers' licensing needs, their administrative support and back office work that they need to get done in order to stay licensed and to stay current with all of their paperwork. So it has two major components. It's the this learning community, and then as well as learning the Alliance core system and how to use it. And right now we still have 10 openings for folks who are interested. You have to be a licensed family childcare provider in the state of Hawaii. And we're also okay taking some small childcare centers. So those are any preschools that are providing services for up to 30 children. So that's what we consider a small family childcare center. So thanks for joining us. We do this every the last Thursday of every month, just kind of get together. And we're so lucky this month to be able to have with us Constant Hine. I'm just really excited for this topic because I had plumbing problems this morning. And so talk about stress and the brilliance of resilience in that plumbing, trying to figure out where the water was coming from. So I was like, I so need this today. So I'm happy y'all are here, but I'm super happy to be here just for myself too. So if you wouldn't mind, Constant, everyone just go ahead and just share with us your name and then where you're calling from. And then I'll remind Alicia, who just looks like she just jumped on, your name and where you're calling from. Tracy, can you go first? Unmute. Yeah.
Woo. All right, technology and me are not friends. My name is Tracy McKinney, and I do work with Early Learning Ventures with Michael at Early Learning Ventures, and I've been the primary point of contact and trainer for the pilot project, Upena. And I don't know what else you want to know, but I'm in Colorado.
Thanks, Tracy. How about you, Laura?
Hi, good afternoon, evening. I'm Laura Matsuyama, and I'm calling from Kauai, Hawaii.
Thanks.
And I'm calling from my home.
Yay. How about you, Cassie? Cassie's a friend of Upena, different project. Hey, Cassie.
Hey, I'm Cassia Sims, and I'm currently in Kapolei, so Oahu.
Great. Hi, Raydeen.
Hello. Hi, I'm Raydeen Inez. I'm from Kamoala, Hawaii. I'm at soccer. Sorry. Gotta do what we gotta do.
Do what you gotta do. Hey, Desi.
Aloha, I'm Desi Okinaka from Hilo on the Big Island.
Thanks, Desi. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and I think I might be in the wrong spot here. I'm not a child care provider. I work for a resource and referral agency here in Juneau. It's called AEYC Thread, and I work with family child care, but I am not a child care proviber.
If you work in childcare, you're in the right space.
R&Rs, all right for the R&Rs. Okay. Hey, Melinda, good to see you.
Hi, Summer. Hi, everyone. I'm coming in from IAEA, Hawaii, and I also am not a childcare provider, but I was one 30 years ago for 2 years. So I give you guys all props.
What do you do now, Melinda?
Oh, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, but currently working as a research evaluation and strategy manager.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then we got Phyllis. Phyllis, are you there? Maybe, I think she was supposed to be on vacation, but if not, it's cool. Hi, Alicia, it's good to meet you. And you're calling in from Colorado to the Primrose School. What a cool name.
Oh.
Okay. I'm happy to pass it over to Constant. Michael, was I supposed to do anything else? Do you want to do anything?
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm in Colorado, and I'm ready to pass it over to Constant as well.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. I just want to give you a little bit of logistics. We're such a small group that I may just stop at certain points. I'm going to be, do all of you have your handout? Okay, because there'll be some activities I'll ask you to do while we're going along, and then we can just unmute and share and use the chat for questioning if we want to do that, okay? And I'm so happy we're such a little group. I love this. I'm going to share my PowerPoint screen with you. Oh, I should just introduce myself. So I started out in the classroom. I was a classroom teacher, and I taught 2.5 to 5-year-olds in multiple different settings and many different states. And that's how I got my beginnings. And then I started working with the adults that work with the children, and mostly as a trainer. And then about 20 years ago, started working a lot more with leadership and coaching. And I have authored a book called Transformational Coaching for Early Childhood Educators that's published by Red Leaf Press. And this little segment we're doing is like a snippet from inside one of the chapters of that book about how do we bust stress obstacles. So, and I live in Denver, Colorado. And I have my own business called Horizons in Learning, which I've been doing a really long time. And since 1988, I don't know how many years that is, plenty. So, and I do a lot of coaching of coaches that coach family childcare, and over the years have worked with family childcare as well myself. So I'm delighted to be here, and thank you for having me. So let's do the, oh, I got to move the screen up a little, see my share screen. And let's do this. Are you seeing the slide? Okay. So I love this picture because it's like, doesn't that feel like resilience to you? So we want Summer to leave the meeting feeling like that, right? Even with all of her plumbing issues. And let's get my arrow. This is what I think we're going to do tonight, the course agenda tonight. We're going to talk very briefly about what is resilience, and I'm going to help define what stress is. And then I've got 4 principles to help us transform stress. And the first one is become response abled. The second is start where you have choice. The third is reframe perceptions to empower. And the fourth is to focus on what you want. So let's just define resilience. And this picture is of a rubber band. And I think it's really good to think about resilience like a rubber band. And so a definition of resilience is the ability to recover from or adjust to misfortune or change. And I think a good way easy way to talk about it is resilience is the ability to bounce back. If you take a hard hit in whatever direction in your life, being resilient means you're able to bounce back and you don't break. It's kind of like the willow tree in a high windstorm instead of the oak that breaks. or in your case, the coconut tree, right? That just blows over, roots up, not good. Okay. So another way of thinking about defining resilience is overcoming the odds. And I'm going to guess all of you know somebody, maybe even yourself, but you probably know somebody who's just had a lot of hard hits in their life, but they seem to keep bouncing back. And that ability to overcome the odds is really a good example of what does it mean to be resilience. And you'll notice in the left-hand corner, on all the slides and referring you to the page number, let me make sure this is, so this is telling, so this is on, tells you the page number this content is on. Your handout is not PowerPoint slides, but every PowerPoint slide is represented in your handout. So I'm referring you to the pages where you'll find the information. So resilient people, that ability to bounce back and overcome the odds, is because resilient people have particular mindsets and accompanying skills that help them actually respond to life's challenges with confidence and grace, is a good way of saying it. And so grace is a great word for me. It's like if I can actually bounce back and respond to the hits that I'm taking with grace, I declare it a win, So Anne McLean Terrell is the current president of the National Association of the Education of Young Children. And she said in one of, I think it was last summer's Young Child magazine, the practice of self-reflection and self-care are critical in these times to ensure that we can be healthy and whole in our service to those who need us. And I think the last year and a half, if we didn't get it before, we for sure are getting it now, that self-care is critical. A stressed out adult around children is one of the most at-risk things that we can do around kids. So keeping the adults calm and taking care of self-care so they can actually not be so stressed out is going to be really critical. And Pema Chodron, who's a spiritual leader, says, compassion for others begins with kindness to ourselves. And, I think so many of us in our industry are caregivers. We forget to do that for ourselves. So this session tonight is an opportunity to really give to yourselves, all right? And to consider how to help yourself when it feels like this and the world is a little heavy on your shoulder. So let's talk about really what is the definition of stress. And stress is the result of demands and a person's ability to meet those demands. It's like a relationship. And so another way of thinking about it is like a ratio. If you have the demands at the top, like a numerator, the ability to respond to demands is like the denominator of a fraction. And if your demands outweigh the bottom, you're going to get stressed out. If you don't have very much ability or capacity to respond to the demands, you're going to get stressed out. So keeping this in a good, healthy relationship is really the key to dealing with stress. And I think demands is a term that we've got all kinds of demands, and we're going to talk about that. But the demands that we deal with that become stressful, and why some demands become stressful, usually has to do with our ability to be responding to demands is getting shrunk or less than the demands we're experiencing. So here is a good, healthy list of what are some of the common stressors that people experience. And, continuous and unpredictable change is number one. And what have we all been living in the last year and a half? Nothing but continuous and unpredictable change. So certainly COVID and our current social issues are contributing to that. The state of affairs, we don't have we do have a war still going on that we're involved in, and the issues of our economy, the too much to do and too little time feeling. So you can read all these, and I'm going to guess many of these are pretty familiar. And one thing that I will say is really common stressors are when we have demands from other people. Those can be personal life, they can be professional life, even your job description, what you're supposed to accomplish is a demand, right? Now, it might not always feel stressful if your ability to respond to those demands are okay. It's when that relationship gets out of whack. And if other people are behaving in ways that you find challenging, that's probably going to be increasing stresses. And if you have difficult communication or some relationships that are difficult, that's a really common source. So, and I know for me, I got more emails than I know what to do with. And so that is a cause of stress for me. And I've had to, I don't have less emails, but I have shifted my ability to respond to those emails in a way I'll share with you in a little bit. So even though I have a gazillion unread emails, I'm not freaking out about it anymore. I don't have any less, but I'm not freaking out anymore. So one of the things that I think would be helpful is for you to identify, and you can write this on page 3 in your handout, just what are some of the top stressors in your life? Now, you had that whole list you looked at, certainly borrow anything, but I'm going to guess I know that Summer should be writing plumbing on the top of yours, right? So it could be a very circumstantial thing, or it could be an ongoing thing. It doesn't matter. So just take a few moments here to write down what are some of your top stressors. And you've got that left column. Don't worry about the right column on that handout right now. Okay, so just on page 3. And then on page 9 is a list of some of those stressors if you need a reminder. So you can always go borrow a few from the other page 9. If you don't have enough just out of your own head, then go read some and add them. Oh yeah, that one. Then go ahead and add them. Okay. Okay. And if something occurs to you as we're going, just go back to page 3 and add it in. Okay. Keep a running list going. So how do we transform stress? We're back to that same little formula. You have the first choice is to reduce the demands. Okay. And some of that we can do because we have control over them. Some of them we can't. Okay. That plumbing thing, you probably can't. Summer had a plumbing issue today. It's such a common, really stressful situation, Summer. I hope you don't mind if I borrow you today.
Not at all. If it helps.
Okay. All right. So she probably didn't, reducing the demand. Well, that was a big one. Might not have as much control over that. That was an external demand coming in. The other option we have is to increase our ability to respond to demands. That one, pay more attention to because you got more control there. And thirdly, you want to reframe your perceptions, because even what you define as a demand and how you think about your ability to respond to demands are dependent on your perception. So reframing perception starts to be really critical for transforming your experience of stress. So here are the 4 principles, as I mentioned, and we're going to go through these one at a time. Okay, so so now you have a context for what do I mean by become response able? Okay, is to increase your ability to respond to demands. So the first thing you want to do is increase your awareness. And you want to increase your awareness of what your options are. You want to increase your awareness of what's stressing you, because it's one of the reasons I had you write it down, because if you're just, sometimes when you feel stressed out, it's just a big gray blob in the sky and I'm stressed out and you don't even know what. The first thing to do is to clarify what is stressing you. Sometimes I feel stressed out by money, and I find part of the stress is just because I actually don't know where my money's at. To go balance my checkbook, even if I'm going to find out how broke I am, is calming just to get the information, right? So clarifying information can be a huge part of increasing your stress. And to recognize you can't change what you can't see. So increasing your awareness of, one, what is stressing you, and two, what your options are, is really an important step along the way. Because again, you can't change what you can't see. So we want to focus on actions, particularly on the bottom of that formula, that expand your capacity to respond. Because you don't have all the control all the time over what the demands are. So your response to circumstances is a choice. It doesn't feel like that all the time. Sometimes what happens is, let's just say, like the bumper sticker says, stuff happens. And how you respond to that stuff that happens is going to have a lot to do with your recognition that you actually have a choice of how to respond to that stuff. It's another way of saying this is you are not a victim to your circumstances. Although when you feel like you're a victim is probably when we need those little attitude adjustments. So let's just get clear for yourself right now. What are things you normally do in your course to calm yourself down? So on page 5, you got another worksheet, and I've given you a cue about thinking about, and you write these in the left column, but most of us think about what do you do to calm down? And a lot of people use physical body strategies. But I want to remind you, I'm going to give you a menu of options, kind of. There's mental strategies, there's spirit or soul strategies, there's social, emotional, heart, and relationship strategies. So expand your thinking about what do you just naturally do? And here's the key. You only get to write down something you've actually used in the last 2 months. Right now, theory doesn't count for nothing. Because theoretically, if you know what to do and you don't do it, doesn't count right now. So you actually have to have used one of these strategies in the last 2 months. And some of you are going to write down chocolate or wine. And, go ahead and write them down. Just watch out for when it's a really good strategy and when it's a strategy that actually can compound additional stress. Okay? So you might want to think about that, but, fair game here. Okay? A couple of you give me some thumbs up what you've got in your list. Okay. Everybody, okay, got a couple there. Other people, thumbs up. Okay. All right. So what we want to do, I gotta go back here. Oops, back, I said. So again, on page 6, I've given you a menu. a menu of options in all 4 flavors: physical, mental, social, emotional, and spiritual. And maybe you hadn't thought about some of those. So take a look at that list and notice, oh yeah, I do that. I never thought of that. So if you see anything in those other categories, put them on your list. And so, and you can write those, you could write them in either column, the left one or the right one. So feel free to add those additional ones to your right column. And it's worth noticing the things that you initially wrote down, were they all in one category? Like a lot of people put, you know, they write down a lot of physical things and they don't have a lot from other strategies. So this is why I want to give you that menu, because you want to expand your ability to respond, and thinking about the different categories can be helpful, which is why I think the menu on page 6 can be helpful to you, to thinking about, I could do that. Like, I think I could breathe. I forget to breathe. I'm going to write that down. You know, I do that. I know one of the things that I do sometimes is I just put my hand on my chest to ground me, and it helps me calm. That would be a physical one. It's also a little bit of a social, a spiritual one for me. Some of you, it might be go to the beach, or just take a walk, or just stare out the window when you have your morning tea or coffee. You know, that's fair game. So think of some of those things and add a few of those things that you think that would be helpful to you. Okay. So now on the things you wrote on your list from all those menus, I want you to pick one of them that you're actually going to try. You're no kidding, you're going to do it this month. Okay. And so you want to actually, oh, it's not, these are the wrong pages. It's pages 5 and 6. Let me change this. Oh, I can't change it as we go. Look at the handouts in the lower left corner. So add it to your list. I would just circle it on page 5. Okay. And then you could create an action list at the end. So page 6, or you can just circle it if you want to on page 6, whatever is easier for you. But just pick one. The reason you're not going to pick 5 of them is because it's going to stress you out. So you got to make changes a little bit at a time. Pick one, and if you're being successful, then add another. But go slow, be kind. Remember the compassion quote? This is when having a really overachiever plan to calm yourself down usually backfires. I like this quote by Steve Maraboli, and he says, sometimes life knocks you on your ass. Get up, get up, get up. Happiness is not the absence of problems. It is the ability to deal with them. Okay, stuff is going to continue to happen. And that brings us to principle number 2. Start where you have choice. How many of us start to get worried? And worry is usually about stuff you don't have much control over. And worry is very unproductive and high stress causing. So we're going to take a look at, where do you have choice? So one of the major factors that influences people's stress level is when they perceive that they have a low level of control and choice. When things feel like they're out of your control and you have no choice is when your stress thermometer goes up. So it's important for us to start to delineate and differentiate, where do we have choice and control, and focus there first. So if you look at the bottom of this, how you respond to demands, the bottom of that, our equation, you have 100% control there. That's the good news. Our internal demands, we also have control over. But what is an internal demand? Let's go talk about that. So demands come in two flavors. The demands come in external demands, and those tend to be the demands you have less control over. Okay. And let me just be clear, all other living human beings fall in that category. Okay. You have no choice in control over other people and their behaviors. So COVID, we don't have choice and control over COVID or some of the social situations going on. You don't have control over the weather. In Denver, when it snows, people get stressed out. Okay. If you get a really heavy hurricane or actually, I guess do you call them typhoons in Hawaii?
Hurricane's okay too.
Hurricanes, okay. You're a Pacific people. You usually call them typhoons. So anyways, heavy duty weather situations, so that would be something to recognize. If you're in Head Start, you got for performance standards, those are non-negotiables, right? So just recognize that those are the kinds of demands we don't have a lot of choice and control over. But the other kind of demands we have are internal demands. And the internal demands you have 100% control over, but we normally don't think about it like that. Expectations of yourself. You have control over those, although you have to exercise some consciousness and awareness around that. Your beliefs and your values. And if you have a belief or a value that's in contradiction to one of your behaviors, that's going to cause stress. Some of you actually have beliefs in and of themselves that cause stress, so they're worth looking at. Negative thinking. Mental crawlers, you know how in CNN they have that ticker tape at the bottom? If you've got negative self-talk going on, it's like having that ticker tape at the bottom of CNN. And that little voice is talking to you all the time. I named mine. I call her Hora. And when Hora's talking, it's not good. And Hora never uses a nice, compassionate voice. She's always negative, judgmental. She makes me doubt myself. Do you all know what I'm talking about? Okay, so you can borrow the name Hora, give her a name, but you're going to want to start noticing who's doing the talking in your head. Because unless you're noticing who's talking in your head, you're just going to believe everything. And that's not a good practice. That'll get you in trouble. So the mental loops are those things that you worry about at 3 o'clock in the morning. Is like being a hamster on a hamster wheel. So all of that. So all of this stuff on the pink side, the good news is on the external demands, you have less than 20% control. But on the internal demands, you got 100% control. Okay. I shouldn't have that less than sign. Ignore it. And then look at the bottom in the ability to respond to demands. Again, you have 100% control. So this is telling you where to focus. Focus on expanding your ability to respond to demands and focus on your internal demands. Now, so these are the two areas to focus on first. And I like this quote: every single shred of how you choose to perceive a situation is totally within your control. That's that internal demands. This is why perception is such a key piece to how it is we respond to demands. So differentiating internal and external demands and stressors starts to be really important. All stress and all external demands can't be stopped. Stuff happens, but you can make choices in the areas that you have control over. And managing your internal demands is key to managing and for exercising what I would call self-control or self-regulation. And internal demands are types of attitudes. And in my coaching, the common barriers that people experience to accomplish what they want are a mess. These are in my coaching model. And the A stands for awareness, lack of awareness. The second A stands for attitudes, usually negative or limiting attitudes. The M stands for motivation. The E stands for emotional emotions, and often it's about being triggered. This first S stands for stress, and the second S stands for lack of skill. So we're really talking and managing these internal demands is helping you deal with overcoming the barriers we have of our own internal attitudes. Okay. So here is the only hope I can give you for dealing with the external demands. It's a little acronym. It's AND. So when you are facing an external demand where you have less choice and control, there are situations where you can A, ask for help, N, negotiate, because lots of those external demands can be negotiated, and D, delegate. Lots of us who are these, caregivers and everything else, we think we got to do everything by ourselves. Like in COVID, here you are teaching your kids at home, working on your computer and wondering why you're freaking out about whether you have a clean house or not. Well, I would be negotiating with yourself about what's more important right now, or be delegating to your kids to pick up some level of the chores that maybe you've been always used to doing on your own. So you might have to ask for help to get that. So just noticing that we have parameters and expectations of ourselves that is problematic. So when it's an external demand, go to and. I like this quote. When you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening, because that's where your power is. How you respond to life's circumstances is 80% of the game. So I want to just give you an example. Let's say somebody wrote down, the pandemic has been a source of stress for me. Okay. And maybe that would be an external demand. Or how about my work hours were reduced. My boss or my agency reduced my work hours. Or if you're a family child care provider, you couldn't even work for a while, or you could only you had to take in less kids. And so that reduction in your income or your work hours would have been an external demand. But notice the internal demands might be there is dealing with work and family is just too much. If you've got the feeling of too much, that's overwhelm. And like, I am overwhelmed by how much I have to do. And overwhelm is an emotional reaction. Overload is when you have too much to do in 24 hours. Some of that is negotiable, some of it is not. So you just want to watch out for where your attitude starts to make things mean things. And that's where you can get into trouble. So this is why principle number 3 is so critical. Attitude is everything. So our power of perspective is another word for attitude. It's a point of view. Human beings are meaning-making machines. Wherever we go, we're making things mean things. And how we make things mean things is usually from our values, our beliefs, and our thoughts and our feelings. Our feelings come from the meaning we attribute to things. So I'm working less hours, so I make that mean I'm going to be broke and, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to feed my kids. That's a little bit, okay, notice that we went a little overboard on the attitude side, okay? Your perspective determines your experience in life, not your circumstances. So yes, COVID is happening. Yes, you might have less income right now, but you making it mean, or your attitude of what you think that's about, I like your comment, Michael, and my day-to-day life experience. Yes. And so it's really important that you want to start choosing your perspective and your attitude at any given time. But you have to be aware who's talking in your head in order to start making those choices. So you can gain control of your life by intentionally choosing either a positive, another word I would use is empowering, because it isn't about have rose-colored glasses, positive thinking. It's choose empowering perspectives. Choose empowering what you make it mean, okay? So when we have disempowering attitudes and perspectives, it does cause stress. It causes negative and limited outcomes. It contributes to challenging communication, which increases stress. It undermines relationship and self-esteem. It causes doubt and worry, and it limits seeing opportunities. When we go into stress, we go into that, reptilian brain at the back of our brain, and you lose frontal cortex executive function, which is where decision making happens. So when we get stressed out, we, go back into fight, flight, or freeze. And that makes our ability to come up with ideas and solution very limited. Okay. So perception is what creates the power of choice. Anwar Sadat said, "He who cannot change the very fabric of his thoughts will never be able to change reality." And I would say your reality is determined by the fabric of your thoughts. So on page 11 and 12, I have listed the 15 most disempowering perspectives or attitudes most people suffer from. And as a coach, these are very common, the issues I have to help people with. Okay, so if you go to page 11 and 12, I'm going to ask you to read those on page 12. Just read through that list. I'm not going to define all these. You can read it for yourself. And I want you to put a check mark next to any of them that you suffer from. Please do not be freaked out by the fact that you're probably going to check a whole bunch of them. That's okay. That's pretty human. Okay. But this is helping you expand your awareness. So I'm going to give you a few minutes just to do this. And let's see. If you would raise, I think we got enough people I can probably see, raise your human hand when you've read the whole list and you've checked the ones. And when you've checked them all, pick the top one or two, the ones that get in your way the most. Some of this is just an exercise in getting honest with yourself. And if anybody needs a little description, you're not quite sure what it means, just unmute and ask, and I can help. I'll tell you the two most common that I bump into the most is either the not being wrong or the fear of failure. Those are really common. The other one that we don't normally think about is emotional reasoning. That's the one where you believe every thought in your head. I hate to be the one to tell you, but every thought in your head is not true. I'd say 90% of them are not true, which is kind of shocking. But that's how powerful horror can be. Just because it's a thought does not make it true. Even if you have thoughts create feelings. So just because you have a feeling doesn't mean it's true. It's just a feeling. It means it's a sign you want to pay attention to. And when you're having a big feeling, you want to go back to saying, what am I thinking that's causing this feeling? Okay. So give me a thumbs up if you've gotten your top 2 circled. Okay. Keep your thumbs up because I have to switch screens. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So was it helpful to at least see this list? Yeah, it is like, holy crap, right? Okay. So our job now is when you're seeing that, I have a friend, Jonathan Mansky. He lives here in Denver. And I'm kidding, no kidding. His business card says on his business card that he's a mental sanitation engineer. He helps you take your head trash out. Isn't that the best? I wish I had that card. Anyways, he said that remember, 80% of success is mindset and attitudes and beliefs. 20% is implementation. Consequently, having the tools to change what's going on in your head can have an immense positive impact on your life and in your work today. Today's thoughts and attitudes and beliefs create tomorrow's outcomes. So this is where I say you've got to be the DJ of your mind. And so when I speak about being the DJ of your mind, you got to know who's talking in your head. And if it's a horror, you have to delete the playlist. Don't just let it keep the song playing, right? In the old days, I used to say, eject the tape. I can't say that anymore. Nobody knows what a cassette tape is, right? So you have to delete the playlist and you got to start creating an empowering playlist. Okay. So this means, you want to get hip to who's talking in your head. And one of your strategies that you want to do when you notice you have a disempowering thought going through your head, your first action would be say, ha ha, I hear you, like you're identifying it, and then say, not that. I'm not going to talk to the hand. I'm not listening. Right? So you actually have to use your awareness, get hip to who's talking and say, not that thought. And actually, that's the eject button. And even if you don't know what to do instead, if you can do that, that's powerful. If completely left and you're on empty and you don't know what to do, then that's where you go to gratitude. Gratitude is always a good solution. And it can be a simple gratitude of, I am grateful that I have shelter. I'm grateful that I have food and clothing. I'm grateful I have a job that I can do from home. I am grateful for raspberries. I don't care. Just put a gratitude in, because gratitude will always turn what we have into enough. So gratitude is a really easy, quick solution. But what we want to do eventually is we want to shift our focus instead of what is not okay. And what we worry about, you want to shift your focus and focus on what you want, not what you worry about. Because what you focus on expands. Have you ever noticed that when you buy a new car, all you do is see that car everywhere on the highway? It's because what you're focused on expands. Your awareness expands. Well, the same thing is true about all this internal demand stuff. If you focus on all these internal demands and your shoulds and your negative horror and your discouragement, it will expand. The antidote is to shift it into Instead of that, focus on what you want. So taking some time to identify what it is you want is helpful. And I would say one way to implement this is take your disempowering perspective and flip it into an empowering. What do you want instead of that? Let's say you're somebody who makes assumptions. To flip it over, it would be, okay, rather than making assumptions, I actually want to focus on clarifying and asking questions. Or if you have black and white thinking, either people are always right or always wrong, right? You might want to consider where to focus is to consider possibilities and think gray. Or if you've got that fear of failure going on, you might want to flip that into mistakes or learning opportunities. And then you can focus on that. So one of the things you want to do is on page 14 in your handout right now, is write down whatever your top disempowering attitude was in that bottom section where it says flip it. Pick one of them. And then how would you flip it? And flipping it could mean doing the exact opposite, or it might be a catchy phrase that you know, or it might be a possible alternative to that particular disempowering attitude. Okay. And if you can't quite figure that out now, then it's a good homework assignment to think about. And I've given you as a resource because I want to give it to you. We don't have time to do it tonight, but I want to let you know that the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children, they do a lot of work with building resilience in children. They have the DECA, which is a social emotional assessment for the resilience of young children. And they focus on, for young children, 3 protective factors, which is initiative, self-regulation, and attachment. For adults, they've come up with a survey, and I've given you the survey on page 15, and you also can download this yourself at the website that's on that page. It's a free download and you can give it and use it to anybody. But for adults, we don't use attachment, we use relationship. So the protective factors, what will make you more resilient is if you invest in these 4 areas. Invest in mutual, long-lasting, back and forth bonds you have with other people in your life. Initiative is the ability to make positive choices and decisions and act on them. Internal beliefs adults get and kids don't have is the feelings and thoughts we have about ourselves and our lives and how effective we are at taking action in life. This is that disempowering perspective. You want to make sure you're flipping it into empowering ones. And self-control or self-regulation is your ability to experience a wide range of feelings and express them using words or actions that society considers appropriate, but to also start to notice that that will give you some self-regulation so you're not getting triggered all the time and going off. So, and for those of you who are in leadership positions, there is the DURLS, which is on page 16. And that's for you to, it's actually an assessment that you can do. Oh, that's the DURLS is the Resilient Leadership Survey. How good are you at supporting the resilience in other people? So it will help you do some discernment about how you can actually support other people. I'm noticing our time, and so I'm going to zip forward. And I like Oprah Winfrey. She says, be thankful for what you have, you'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever have enough. So I'm going to go, these are ways to flip your focus. And I have a little sign book that I created. Like one, aim for quality, not perfection. If you're afraid of making mistakes, simplify. Don't let the fear stop you. So all of those are examples of ways you could flip things over. And you probably have to post them somewhere to remember what you're focusing on. Okay. So if you want something to change, you got to change something. So out of tonight, I hope that you can come up with your action plan for what might help you. We only have a little bit of time. I'm sorry that we went longer. I'm going to ask you if you would just unmute and some of you just share what either touched your heart today, what was an aha for you, or what was your blinding flash of the obvious? Gunk, I could have had a V8. Anybody want to just unmute and share? I'm going to stop the sharing. Well, I will do this. I will say, never give up. And if you want to stay connected, oh, let me put this in the chat. I don't know how to do this. Oh, yes, I do. Stop sharing. And so does anybody want to unmute and just tell me what it was that they either connected to, or what was their aha, or what was helpful? Or if you got a hot question, we can probably take 1 or 2 questions.
I like the fact that, sorry, thanks. I like the fact that you have a name for the negative thoughts that pop into your head. I'm gonna take that away because that's like an encouraging thing when negatives pop into my head.
Okay, name that sucker.
Yeah, I gotta figure out something for my evil twin.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Thanks, that was good.
Yeah, excellent. Somebody else?
I always come back to gratitude and just how powerful that is. It's such a simple thing, but it's so powerful.
It is. Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else? I did put in the chat for you. If you would like to get on my mailing list, you can just go to that link and click the link that's in the chat, and then you will get access to my mailing list. I would love to have you stay in contact. I hope this was helpful tonight. It was so fast, and I didn't quite have enough time to do Q&A, and I apologize.
Can I ask, this is Tracy. Can I ask a quick question? Because working with the Hawaii family child care home providers, I was just kind of curious if they're, because just listening to some of the challenges that they have at some of them are more isolated than others. And I was wondering if there was some specific, I mean, this is great information, but what I'm thinking is some of them are really isolated, meaning and especially since COVID. And how do they, like, I'm just trying to, in my mind, trying to identify things that they go through, for example, and then being able to apply this information to that to kind of change some of the, I don't know, some of, I guess, the way that it, I don't know, plays
How they
out.
respond.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah. So notice if you're going to take isolation, which we've all had more of the last year and a half, some of that is external. But notice how much of it is internal. Because some of us, it's the attitude of being isolated and getting overwhelmed by that, that compounds it. So in that regard, if you think of the DARS, relationship is one of the key things to stay resilient, to expand your ability to respond. So even though you might not be able to give somebody a hug, I tell you, I've been having Zoom dinners all year with friends. I've been playing games with friends. I am not feeling isolated, even though I'm physically isolated. So some of it had to do with where did I have choice and control, and looking at my ability of where I could create different ways of being connected.
And then for those that don't have access to good, like maybe in the more rural areas, and those that don't have access to good Wi-Fi or connectivity, they're not able to use the Zoom for things like that. They have no support network, meaning they live by themselves. And family maybe, and we'll just use Hawaii as an example, their family may be, you know, on the mainland somewhere, and they really have the kids and the dogs.
They got a telephone. Everybody has got communication, some form. So in a time like that, when you're feeling isolated, you will have to make more effort to stay connected. So you might have to actually make appointments to talk with your best friend every week, where normally you would let it go 2 months. You can't let it go 2 months. So you personally have to keep your heart connected. For some people, that isolation isn't just other people, it's that spiritual domain where they're not feeling connected internally. So that might mean a little meditating. It might be inspirational reading. And it might be that, you know, thank goodness they're part of your community, so they have the opportunity to start networking. It might be making formal appointments or times to call peers, that you make it not just when you feel like it. Let's just talk every Friday night at 5:30. And if we don't have much time, fine, but it's going to be a regular thing that I do.
I like that meditating piece. Sorry, Michael.
No worries. So something I wanted to share, just because I think it hopefully will connect with you all. Basically what we went through tonight, where we put down the list of what makes you feel positive in some kind of way, what is, you know, something that fills your energy bar. That is actually something, if you are ever in a situation where things get way too dark for you, that is actually what the emergency counselors will do with you. I have, you know, to not dive into personal life too hard, but I've definitely been to that level where the choice was hospitalization or create these lists of what do we do next. And the very first thing is on their relationships. And so, you know, I've had it where, you know, my now wife, she would send me a picture of every dog she saw on campus, and I would send every dog I saw back. And it was dumb, but that kind of stuff keeps you going.
That's an awesome idea.
And it wasn't dumb. I think one of the other things to do when you feel isolated is go on, if you have access to online or a phone, go onto YouTube and watch happy baby videos. Or watch those little cute kitty videos. You know what I mean? Anything that's good, anything that will make you laugh. And there actually is something called laughter yoga that you can do online. Now, here's a hot tip. Your brain does not know the difference between fake laughter and real laughter. It will release the same chemical. So you could just sit down and laugh. Just laugh. Just laugh and you will really, I got a rush. If you just do that, it actually will release the chemical. So there's a variety of things that you actually can do. That is both, to me, that's spiritual, that's emotional, and it's physical. So look at your menu on page 6 and keep revisiting it. Did that help, Tracy?
It did. And like I said, and it's not, you know, we work with a lot of childcare providers. I think at this point we're a little over 300, and just listening to the stories and stuff, and And family childcare homes are hit a lot harder because they don't separate, they don't go to work, right? Their work is at home. And so being able to separate and just really find that balance is what I see as a common theme. Some are really incredibly organized, but it's still stressful. And and so I was just trying to take some of that away on.
Well, recognize you can't make stress go away.
Yeah.
You can help them focus on where they have choice and control first. And watching perception and attitude is a huge doorknob. If you just, as a helper, help them focus on where do you have control? What are your options?
Yeah, you know, and I think some of that comes naturally too. And I'm really thankful for that because, it is easier for me to help other people look on those positive sides or, you know, with this situation, what can we do right now? And then help and walk through or even just talk through a lot of times and just listening. And we tend, just as humans, tend to do that better for other people than ourselves. So
I want to pause us right there. I'll definitely be happy to stay on if anybody does have, you know, questions or resources that they want to support. But we did talk about there being door prizes for this.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Summer.
I forgot.
I believe we had Summer, you know, tear everybody into hats and go from there. So
I put all of your names into a little hat and pulled your names out. Congratulations, Laura. You're the winner of our Visa gift card for $100 from Early Learning Ventures. So thank you so much to ELV and congrats, Laura. Desi, you're getting a $50 Amazon gift card. Woo! Lisa, we hope you get Amazon. Up there, you're the winner of the $20 Amazon gift card in Alaska. All right, you get Amazon. And then Phyllis, you got a $10 Starbucks gift card. Woo, Phyllis! And then the grand prize, our tablet, again, courtesy of Early Learning Ventures, goes to Ray Dean. Congratulations, Ray Dean. Hopefully you can use this for sign in and sign out or something. Yeah, awesome. So I'll put those in the mail to you all or send you all an email, but congratulations and thanks for folks for coming and joining us and doing door prizes. This is fun.
There's one more door prize still, actually. So Constant, do you want to talk about it? And I have a little list and we'll
I have a friend of mine, Dave Scahill, who runs a company called the Discovery Source. And he's created the Calm Kit, which is a little backpack that you can use with children, ways to help children stay calm. And there's a book in there and a whole bunch of there's stuff in the backpack. And so he's donated a Calm Kit that he will send to whoever the winner is.
All right, it's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning. Here, let me share my screen because it just concluded. Actually, you know what? No, I promise, I swear, I only did it once. There, Melinda, you win.
Melinda, yay!
See, it says right there, count one.
Yay, Melinda.
And so in order to send that, Melinda, would you mind putting your address into the, actually, yes, we don't have the addresses for Lisa or for Melinda. We have them for everyone else.
Congrats. You'll have to let us know what that wonderful backpack kit is all about, Melinda.
And you can Google the Discovery Source or the Calm Kit and you guys can see what it is.
I'm sorry, Constant, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's a really neat kit. You might just want to know about it in general.
They have them for, I think, parents too, right? Because I perused the website when you mentioned it in another conversation.
Well,
and it was really interesting. I know that they do have them for kids too, though.
Well, it's a backpack designed to give to a parent that they can put on the back of their kid. So when they go on a car ride or if they're going and doing something, it's something designed to give to a parent to use with their children.
besides that, yeah, no, if anybody within the Upena group is ever having questions over this, please feel free to funnel that either through Summer or me, and we can get you, you know, whatever kind of resources that we have at our disposal.
Okay, I think Phyllis is sharing her screen.
Phyllis, we gotta figure out how to stop your share screen. Let's see.
Here, I shared, and then I stopped sharing.
Oh,
Okay.
great. Thanks so much. If you have to head off, thanks for those who joined us, and great to see you all. We'll hang out for a few more minutes for those who want to.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Have a nice evening. I'll see you guys later.
It was nice meeting you. It was a great seminar. Or
Oh,
webinar.
good, Laura. I'm glad it was helpful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mahalo. Thank you for a great seminar.
You're welcome, Radine. Congratulations.
I know. Thank you guys so much. See you, Michael. See you, Tracy. Bye,
Have a
Summer.
great night.
Take care, Radine.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, Phyllis.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Thanks so much, Constant. I learned so much.
Oh, good. Yeah, so gotta watch those horrors.
Oh man, I'm gonna name her Cruella,
Oh, that's perfect.
the villain from 101 Dalmatians. To me, she's the scariest villain. She
Yes.
is-
And you have the new movie out too.
Ah, whoo.
Okay. Do you need me anymore?
We're good.
We always need you,
Like-
Constant, but for the night, I think we're done.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later. And good luck to you all.
Thank
You're
you.
constant.
Bye.
Have a great night. Bye-bye. All right.
Guys, that was great.
Yeah. How was it for you?
I thought it was good. I mean, you know, even sort of spending time around this in sort of social services world, it always is good to get reminders about things, and it's harder when it's yourself.
Yeah.
It's harder to meet that reality when it's yourself. It's easier to serve clients.
Yeah, I was that makes a lot of sense. I was joking with Tracy that basically this is what I've spent like thousands of dollars over the years on, just with different words.
Yeah.
I'm not crying. This is just my throat going after a long day.
It's a long day, Michael.
It made it though. It made
The
it.
major, like that one meeting that went really well today. Of course I don't know what it is, but that's okay. But I'm excited about that. But I mean, like, I'm sure that you guys, it sounded like you guys did a lot